Hello and welcome back to the 410. My name is Adrian, your host, and we have an NBA special edition here, the 410. We're going to go through all of these different transactions that happened here with the trade deadline just passing. Also, we're going to talk about some NBA All-Star snubs, and then we're going to also go through the first ever 410 power rankings here. Obviously, they're going to be different than what some of the pundits have, but this is what the 410 feels about the situation. Getting into the snubs here, and also just a side note, you see I've donned the Baltimore Bullets hat. Like I said, I'm going to petition to get the Wizards out of Washington, D.C., get them into Baltimore. So I'm going to hold this down here. Of course, we can change the name. They don't have to be the Bullets, but we can get that team back here, and we can have some success just like we did when we had the Bullets here before. First one, Trae Young. My goodness. He leads the league in assists. He shoots 50 for three-point shots. He leads Atlanta every night. Pretty much he does what he needs to do to try to help them win. I don't know how he's not an all-star. That would be my number one snub. Number two, got to be Domantas Sabonis. Once again, we have another league leader. This guy leads the league in rebounds, averaging 14.5 rebounds a game. I don't know how in the world he's not an all-star. Once again, I know there's politics involved, but come on. If they're the league leader, they got to be an all-star. It just makes perfect sense to me. Next one, Tyrese Maxey. Of course, this one here is where we start getting into, I understand him maybe not making an all-star game because of the team's record. But once again, he looks the part. 28 points a game, 6 assists. He does everything he can do every single night to help Philadelphia win. Next one up would be Devin Booker. And the only thing I had to say about Devin Booker making the all-star game would be, of course, I love KD and all, but their numbers pretty much are neck and neck. Devin Booker, to me, is pretty much leading the charge most of the nights for the Phoenix Suns. He just had 47 last night. My goodness. He was on the USA team. He has to be an all-star. I'm just saying. Next one up, LaMelo Ball. Of course, Charlotte, they can't win too many games down there. They just traded away Mark Williams. So I don't think they're going to get much better this year at all. But he's doing everything he can do. He's almost averaging triple-double, 28, 7, and 5 is what he's averaging. So, I mean, those are big numbers for somebody. He looks like an all-star. He made the all-star game last year. Of course, I thought he was going to get voted in. He didn't get voted in. LaMelo Ball probably be on the all-star team pretty much year in, year out after this. Next one, just went to San Antonio. I'm a little upset with him. He did do all he could do to bring them back last night. De'Aaron Fox, he's averaging 25, 6, and 5 with the Kings. He showed a little glimpse of what he's going to do with San Antonio last night. He brought them back. They did lose that game on the last second shot by Miles Bridges over there in the corner for 3. But at the end of the day, De'Aaron Fox definitely is another player that looks the part as to being an all-star in the league. Zach LaVine is next. He went to De'Aaron Fox old home, Sacramento. I don't know how that's going to work. I don't see them having a whole lot of success. De'Aaron Fox, to me, seemed like a better fit, but I don't think he was happy anymore. And plus, they owed him $37 million next year. I don't think they wanted to pay him that money. Last but not least would be Kyrie Irving. Kyrie averaging 24, 5, and 5. Of course, injuries sometimes kind of derail him, but he has been relatively healthy this year. He has been leading the charge. And I don't know if you saw AD and them, but man, Dallas looks like they may be something serious down there with that trade. He had a lot of energy. If he's playing like that, Dallas is going to be a major problem. Once again, Luka, LeBron, they had Mark Williams, but AD down there and PJ Washington and Gafford, the way they were moving and the way things looked like they were clicking, Dallas looked like they may be pretty serious. We're going to talk about them here in just a minute. All right, let's get into the first ever power rankings here on the 410. While I'm doing the power rankings, I'm going to go through some of the transactions with you. That way you kind of know where people went. And then once again, these are my power rankings here on ESPN's. They aren't NBA.com's, anything like that. So they're definitely going to be different. All right, the first one, this is going to be going from last to first in the league. Is going to be Charlotte. Charlotte, they just traded away Mark Williams. I wanted to give them a higher spot here, but them trading away Mark Williams, it made me scratch my head and wonder what is really their motivation down there. Was Mark Williams really hurt up the way they said he is, or do they just want to tank and try to get Cooper Flag? My goodness. They did, however, get Dalton Connect in the deal and Cam Reddish from the Lakers. So we'll see how Dalton Connect grows down there in Charlotte. I'm sorry he ended up being part of the trade, but they had to make that move to get Mark Williams out there in the Laker land. Next up would be New Orleans. Of course, New Orleans has been derailed with injuries all year. Brandon Ingram, who I'll get into in just a minute. They traded him away to Toronto. Then they also lost Dejounte Murray for the year from an ankle injury. So they're down plenty of men. They did, however, get Bruce Brown and Kelly Olynyk in the fold, but I don't think they're going to be doing much down there in New Orleans. Zion, I thought he was going to get traded too. I don't think anybody wanted Zion right now. New Orleans going to be struggling all year. Next up will be Brooklyn. Brooklyn, of course, they got rid of Ben Simmons. They bought him out, so he's on the move. They're done with that whole situation. They did bring in D'Angelo Russell a little earlier, a couple weeks back. He's been leading the charge for them. But yeah, they're not making a whole lot of noise. They're definitely fighting for that bottom spot. Next up, and this is just because they've been fighting a little bit, and so I had to recognize them a little higher on the power rankings than what I've normally been telling you. They're the last team in the league. They're up for Cooper Flag stakes, but Washington been fighting. Washington has my boy Alex Len. He's a Terrapin. They got him. They also got Reggie Jackson. But once again, I think they're going to be in the running for a Cooper Flag later in the year. They have been looking like they've been trying, though, lately. I don't know if they've been getting a memo from the 410. But yes, I think people have been telling them, y'all need to play a little harder. Y'all in the NBA, y'all are getting paid some good money to play some ball. Next up will be Utah. Utah got Jalen Hood-Schifino and Mo Bamba in some deals. But, of course, Utah, they stay with Walter Kessler, and they just really want to try to fight and get better. Isaiah Collier has been playing really good for Utah, and they've been fighting in most games. They've been covering spreads. They've been really in the game. They haven't been getting blown out or anything like that. But they have them here because they only have a certain amount of talent there. Of course, they're going to be in the running to get one of the top players in the league. But I think they need an all-star to come down there and right the ship for them. Of course, they lost Donovan Mitchell to Cleveland just a couple of years ago. I think that was the best thing they had down there in Utah. Let's see if they can get something else here in the future. Next up will be Chicago. Chicago, they ended up getting Zach Holland, another Terrapin, Kevin Huerter, and Trey Jones. They ended up with those three, but I don't think losing Zach LaVine for those three made any sense. Of course, they had to get rid of Zach LaVine. They needed to give him a change of scenery. That man's been doing everything he can do to help Chicago win. He sent them a great farewell. Zach LaVine's a really classy guy. I hope he does well in Sacramento. Next up will be Atlanta. Atlanta got Karis LeVert, Terrence Mann, and they got Bones Highland. Once again, they lost DeAndre Hunter, which I thought was the second best player on their team. But we'll see how that goes. Karis LeVert is, however, a good role player for them. But Atlanta, they just need a couple more pieces with Trae Young, and I think they'll be just fine. Next up, Orlando. Orlando's been bit by the injury bug all year. Of course, they have a lot of young players. So if they can get healthy, we'll see how they look. They just stayed pat. They didn't make any moves. They really just need to get healthy in Orlando. Next up, they've been playing really, really well together, and they added Brandon Ingram. So whenever he gets healthy, that'll be a good look for them. They had Brandon Ingram. They also got P.J. Tucker. They got Wiseman. Wiseman to be a top pick in just a couple years ago. He has went team to team. He had a lot of talent coming out of the college, but he has not lived up to that talent in the NBA. Next up would be Detroit. Detroit, of course, has Cade Cunningham, the all-star. They just brought in Dennis Schrader. So they're going to keep fighting with them. They're going to make the playoffs. We're going to see if they keep improving through the year. They're going to be a tough team to play in the playoffs with those two in the backcourt. Next up will be Miami. Miami, of course, just traded Jimmy Butler. They just brought in Andrew Wiggins. They have him in the fold. They also have Kyle Anderson now. So, I mean, they have another player. Jimmy Butler wasn't playing, so obviously Andrew Wiggins can only just help them. We'll see if bringing another piece to the puzzle helps them stabilize. Next up to me is Phoenix. Phoenix didn't make any moves that were worth talking about. Of course, KD was wanting to be on the move. They didn't get anything done with him, so I feel like their locker room is in turmoil. They did get a big win last night against Utah, but it was Utah. So, I mean, once again, like I said, Utah is fighting, but it's Utah. That's who they're fighting with. So I don't see anything happening with Phoenix this year. Unfortunately, they didn't make a move with KD, but it's at the back end of his career, just like LeBron. So it's time for him to make a move. Maybe he should go down there with LeBron. Next up would be Golden State. Of course, they just got Jimmy Butler in the trade. I cannot wait to see how him and Steph blend in together. I think their games are looking really good together. Of course, he brings a toughness to Golden State that they need. The only thing he does not bring to Golden State is some height. They're going to have to go up against front courts like Dallas. That's going to be really scary. They have nothing for them down there. Even if Draymond comes back, They're going to be undersized. I think that's going to be the problem with them. Even though Jimmy and Steph going to have some magic for you if they make the playoffs, they're not going to be able to go down there and deal with those front courts. Next up to me, I'm a little disappointed in them, but I'm not going to hold this against them. They're just blending together here. De'Aaron Fox just went to San Antonio. So we'll see how they look. They looked pretty good in the fourth quarter last night against Charlotte of all people, but we'll see if they can build on that momentum. I think, of course, that's a great look for them, throwing De'Aaron Fox in the mix with Wemby. It can't do anything but help them. Next up would be Philly. Of course, Embiid is back. He just had a triple-double. They also got Quentin Grimes from Dallas. So he's a great piece to have in the mix. We'll see if Embiid can stay healthy. That's the thing with him. If he can stay healthy, they have Tyrese Maxey, him playing pretty well. They can make some noise. I mean, to me, with Paul George, him, that's a big three that nobody really wants to see on the eastern side of things if they can get healthy and be ready to go come playoff time. Next up would be the Clippers. Of course, they have Kawhi just came back. They added Bogdanovic. We'll see how he helps them out. But they've been stumbling here of late. I don't know what's going on with them. They've been losing some games pretty handily lately, but we'll see. That's why I have them pretty low on the rankings. I've been seeing them lose some games that they should not be losing, so I don't have confidence in them. Next up would be Sacramento. Of course, they added Zach LaVine. I'm going to see how that looks with Zach LaVine in the fold. They have Jonas Valanciunas added to the mix, so I think that'll help them out on the front court. They have Sabonis, Valanciunas. That's a big front court. They're going to need that, like I just talked about. In the West, there's some big front courts that's forming, so you're going to need some size in the West. Next up, Minnesota. Of course, Julius Randle's been out for them, and he's been playing better as the season been going on. He's had a couple 40-point games. They're real tough out. Nobody really wants to see them if they do get healthy in the playoffs. We know how tough they were last year in the playoffs. So definitely Minnesota, if they get healthy, they're right there in the top tier of all of those teams in the top of the West. Next up, Dallas, and I may want to put them a little higher after what I just saw AD doing here. But like I said, I did this before, all of this stuff this weekend. But yes, adding AD, they also added Max Christie and Caleb Martin. There's definitely going to be some help there. And like I said, with AD playing like that in that front court and Kyrie doing his thing, I don't think anybody in the West wants to sign up to play them. The only team that has a chance, I think, with something like that is Oklahoma adding Chet Holmgren. But once again, if AD is playing like that, I don't even think Chet Holmgren stands a chance at AD coming down there the way he was coming down there today. Next up will be Milwaukee. Of course, they moved on from Chris Middleton. They now have Kyle Kuzma. I think that was a really good addition for them. They also have Porter Jr. They needed to get a little bit younger. They're trying to turn and twist and do whatever they can do to take advantage of Giannis and all his talent down there in Milwaukee. They're just one piece away, I think, from just getting over that hurdle. But, of course, Dame and Giannis going into playoff time, nobody in the East wants to see them either. That's a two tandem that can get you wherever you need to go. Of course, Giannis already has that championship taste in his mouth, so he knows exactly what it's going to take to get to the championship. So Milwaukee, another tough out. Anybody in the East, I don't want to play them if I'm in the East, but you're going to have to go through Milwaukee at some point in time. Next up is Houston. Of course, they've been stumbling here of late. That's why I have them so low on the rankings here. They added Cody Zeller, Jalen Green. Sengun is an all-star, but they've been losing games here lately. They are on a 6-game losing streak. I think they lost today against Dallas. They did lose to Dallas today. So they're on a 6-game losing streak. So that's why I have Houston down here where they are. They're still a very good team, but they're not performing as well as they should be right now. Next up to me is Indiana. Of course, Indiana, they're battling the Lakers right now. The Lakers actually are winning this game. I think it's 104-91 as we speak right now. The Lakers, they're on a win streak, and I thought Indiana would win this game without LeBron. The addition of Luka has re-energized the Lakers, and obviously adding Mark Williams to the front court. They're going to need that, like we just talked about, with these front courts that are forming in the West. Next up would be Boston. I'm not a big fan of Boston. I don't like the way that they play. Too many three-point shots to me, one-dimensional. They keep teams in the game that shouldn't be in the game if they're not shooting that well. Of course, they picked up Torrey Craig, a small addition to them. But, of course, anything additional that they can add to a team like Boston is just some help. Maybe they'll turn it up in the playoffs. But, once again, I have Boston this low because I'm watching them perform, or underperform, you should say, against some of these teams they should be dominating against. Next up to me, just because they're on a super hot streak, I threw them right in the mix here, was Portland. Portland has been on fire in the NBA, so of course I'm going to recognize Portland. And until they're getting beat, I'm going to throw them right there at the top of the league because right now they're beating everybody. So Portland, they have Scoot coming off the bench. They have Shaden Sharp coming off the bench. So you have those two players that were starting coming off the bench. Anthony Simons, he's dropping 30 a game. Ayton's playing like the big boy that we know he is, getting them double-doubles. Portland, they have all these young pieces that are starting to come together. So they're a real scary team to go out west and play, or come in your building and play right now. So that's why I had Portland so high on the rankings. Next up would be Denver. Of course, Jokic, he getting triple-doubles every night. The only thing they're missing right now, Westbrook, he's been hurt, but they have been finishing these games. They've been winning these games. Like I said, Jokic getting a triple-double almost every single night has helped them out tremendously. They're always going to be in the mix with him. He's the MVP of the league. So, of course, you don't want to play them in the playoffs. They already have their championship pedigree. Jamal Murray is the key to them. If he's going, then it's hard to stop Denver. If he's not going, then, of course, you have a chance to beat them. But you have triple-double, Jamal Murray, Westbrook contributing. Denver's a tough team to play as well. All right, so this is the top 5 of the power rankings right now with the 410. Number 5 will be New York. New York added DeLon Wright, of course. They've been right up there in offensive efficiency all year. They've been really, really tough to beat. Of course, adding Karl Anthony Towns has helped them tremendously. When he's playing tough, New York is hard to beat. They're going to be a tough outcome playoff time. Of course, they're still gelling. They're still learning each other. A lot of new pieces that came from all over in New York. So, once again, if they continue to gel, they're going to be very tough come playoff time. Number 4 will be the Lakers. And, of course, right now as we speak, the Lakers are winning another game. They're on a win streak. They're winning this game without LeBron, even without Luka. They've added Luka that's re-energized the Laker land. They added Mark Williams. So, my goodness, I love the way the Lakers are playing. I love the energy that they're playing with. And so right now, I had them number 4 in the league until proven otherwise. Number 3 would be Memphis. Of course, Ja Morant came back just a few weeks ago. They've been looking really strong with Ja Morant in the mix. So I want to see if they can continue to build on that momentum. Tonight, they have a big game against Oklahoma. So I'm hoping to see a really good game out of them tonight. They even getting some points, so I feel like they're going to feel disrespected. Come out, play really hard tonight. So I have number 3 going to Memphis. Number 2 would be Cleveland. Cleveland did struggle a little bit with Washington last night, so they had me uneasy. But Cleveland, for the most part, has been playing really well all year. They did add DeAndre Hunter, which is also another reason why I have them at number 2. DeAndre Hunter was a great piece. Cleveland has been dominant all year. They did slip a little bit in the last couple of weeks, but I think they're back on track. The number 1 spot right now goes to Oklahoma. Of course, they have a big game tonight against Memphis, but adding Chet Holmgren back in the mix, and they also added Daniel Tice. I think that's, once again, they adding some more pieces to that front court because you're going to need that front court come playoff time, especially with AD going to Dallas. I think they noticed that. OKC is lethal at home, hard to beat. So if they have home court advantage, I think that's going to be the difference going into the West. So I see them going pretty far. Thank you for tuning in today. The NBA Power Rankings was great. I had a lot of fun doing this today. We have the All-Star Weekend coming up here, so I can't wait for that as well. Once again, please continue to like, share, subscribe this. Thank you for your time today. This was a great show today. I love the NBA. I love basketball. So this is really, really great. I can't wait for the All-Star Weekend that's coming up. Of course, we got the big game tomorrow, the Super Bowl. Of course, I wish the boys was in it, but maybe I'll watch it. Maybe I don't. I'm still up in the air about it, but it is the Super Bowl, so I have to recognize that. But until I see you again tomorrow, please take care of your friends and your family. You never know when you're going to see them again. The 410.